could be anyone. He could be anyone. We're gonna tear this city apart.
Hello everybody, my name is Stevie Cade and welcome to Film Trigger. Finally, Spiral from the Book of Saw, which is the title because they just want to remind you it is part of the Saw franchise. It has finally made it past the global pandemic holdback and is now in theaters. Before we get started, if you could, as always, if you want to support this channel and help this channel grow, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell ding thing next to the subscribe button so you get notified every time I upload a new video. So without further ado, let's dive into my spoiler review for Spiral from the Book of Saw.
Hello, Detective Banks. When was the last time you saw your father?
Alright, so like most people, when I first heard that Chris Rock himself actually pitched this movie, I was intrigued and concerned because he was also going to star in it. And I don't see Chris Rock as a dramatic actor. No, I don't think I've ever seen him in anything dramatic. So I was very curious on how this movie was going to pan out. So let's immediately dive into what I did like about this movie. And that's continuing the Saw story. It's not a reboot, it's not a remake. They are continuing from the Saw mythology. And that's good. That's a very positive thing.
Jigsaw?
Wait, I thought the Jigsaw Killer was dead.
He is.
They don't have to spend time trying to rebuild the universe. We know what it is. Now we can move forward. But in doing so, they also didn't do a copy and paste of the previous Saw films. That would have been a little redundant. I think Chris Rock pitched a very unique idea here. There's a very noir style, like detective thing going on, which the previous films had this detective thing going on, but this has like a noir aesthetic to it. It has a different tone than the previous movies have had. Okay, I'm watching something new and fresh. The mythology of the previous Saw films like echoing in the background of this movie. I thought that was played out so well. And they stayed away from things that we recognized would be in every Saw movie, and I'm specifically talking about that rapid cut kill scenes, you know, the thank God they got rid of that because that was very exhausting in the previous films. I just got so tired of watching that in every freaking movie. I actually did a review series for this movie. I stopped at 4 because of the pandemic, and then I just never got back to it, but if you want me to continue that, let me know in the comments below. Thanks. There are some things I didn't like about the kills, but I'll get to that here in just a moment. But overall, the storytelling was very fluid. It wasn't choppy. It kept my interest throughout the whole movie. Like there was no real slow parts, or I didn't find myself bored watching this film at any particular time. Another thing I liked, spoiler alert, the twist ending. It wasn't the twist ending I thought we were gonna get. I would have put money Samuel L. Jackson was going to be, you know, the new Jigsaw wannabe. And thank God he wasn't. I actually would have been pissed if he was. It would have been a little too on the nose. But the twist ending that we got was actually a surprise. It was his partner who we thought was dead. Like, and it made sense. It wasn't forced in there. Once they explained the who, what, where, why, and how, it was very well woven in the story. And that's something that the Saw legacy has. It's something that it should have in it, is this true integrity of why the bad guy is doing what he's doing, and it makes sense. And they did a very good job with that, and also keeping to a very good surprise ending. Another thing I really liked about this movie is Chris Rock's character. He has this very earned moral compass, and it's something that haunts him in this movie. In my mind, I compared this character to almost a Commissioner Gordon type of guy. He's in a corrupt police system. He's just trying to do the right thing, and the one time he ratted out another cop who murdered somebody, now he's the bad guy. He's being persecuted for this, but he still is a cop. He's still trying to hang in there and do the right thing, even though he can't trust other people in his precinct.
How can I catch this guy? If there's nobody on the force, I can trust.
That's a good ground for a main character. It captured my attention the whole way through. I rooted for this guy. I knew he was doing the right thing and he wasn't tainted. But then, by the end of the movie, his moral compass is challenged, and we actually don't see what way he goes with that, because when he's challenged at the end to either join the new Jigsaw or Spiral or whatever the fuck we're calling this new villain guy, he has a chance to join him and help him kill or trap or whatever, essentially become that apprentice role to help clean up the police department, which would follow to help clean up the city. It seems like it should work, but again, his moral compass is he's not a dirty cop, and that would technically make him a dirty cop. But if he doesn't do that, then he's kind of enabling this situation, these cops to continue acting like this while he turns a blind eye to the whole situation, which is what he's been doing for years previous. And I love that cliffhanger. Like, I want to come back and see what happens with this character and what choice he decided to make. And the last thing that I really liked about this movie was the aesthetic of it. The cinematography was on point. It had that kind of 80s style, you know, like the blue lights and the shadows that worked in those 80s style slasher movies, but it also had that warm filter on it that I think helped elevate the aspect of it being a noir type style movie. So all that stuff together, it really made for an entertaining movie to watch. It was pleasing to the eye, and the story flowed well. So that was great. Now, on to things that I'm on the fence about when it comes to this film. Chris Rock himself, and that's an unfortunate thing to be on the fence about, because Chris Rock, in some parts, he did really well. I was thinking, okay, he's actually pulling it off. He's doing a great job. But just as equal many parts in this movie, he's not doing a great job. His face, like, I don't know, it's like his face doesn't have too many emotions it shows. It shows surprised, confused, and angry. But like, they're all kind of look the same, and like, it just doesn't translate very well. And not just that, but Chris Rock, I know he wanted to add his own flavor to this movie, but him constantly putting these one-liners, these little jokes in there, it seemed like he was practicing his like stand-up bit. Like, it wasn't a genuine conversation, and it took me out of it. Now I have stopped watching the character he's portraying, and I'm being constantly reminded this is Chris Rock the comedian, because he keeps making jokes. Now, like I mentioned before, the kills are on what I'm on the fence about, because they didn't seem as earned. There wasn't an integrity behind them that was in like the first 3 Saw movies, and you know, freckled out through the other ones. Jigsaw himself had an integrity behind what he was doing. He wanted people to have a second chance. That element is missing in this movie. The killer in this movie doesn't seem like he wants them to have a second chance. He wants these cops to die, so he kind of sets them up, says, hey, you did bad things, you're gonna leave disfigured and in a lot of pain, or you're gonna die, which arguably is what Saw does. But as I said, there's a piece missing here. There's a depth missing to these kills. And I think that's the hopefulness. Like, there's no hope that they're going to get out of these traps. And on top of that, even the new Jigsaw says at the end, you know, oh, I can't believe you tried to save that murderer or whatever. Like, he doesn't want these people to live. And that's an integrity that these Saw movies need to have. That's what Saw movies are. They want these characters to live. And I know, again, freckled out through the Saw mythology, there's been bad apples that wanted to kill, but I was really hoping with this fresh look, this new take, there was going to be someone new I could get behind and say, okay, I know he's a bad guy, but he's got a point. There's not too much of that. This seems more like a vengeance movie cloaked in Saw skin. And it all just kind of comes across kind of shallow compared to what I'm used to when it comes to the Saw films and their kills and their integrity behind it. Now, moving right along with what I don't like about this movie. So I did love the noir detective style that they went with here. But like, I wish they would have spent more time on the detective work. There's multiple times throughout this movie that they just kind of figure things out because it gets the story moving quicker. You know, when Saul sends them that flash drive and there's a video playing on the screen, and someone, just a random cop or the chief or whatever, looks at it and goes, oh, well, I know exactly where that's at. That happens more than once. Like, they just automatically know where this video is taken and they go there. The detective work trying to find where these things are wasn't there. In the moment that there was some detective work, when he figures out one of the riddles that Jigsaw put in these little presents that he gives him.
This package just came in.
Get everybody out of here.
Again, that also doesn't seem earned. He's at another investigation, and then he just looks up and goes, oh, I just solved the riddle. I gotta go find the chief. Like, there's no real detective work. He just shows up, and now we know, and then we go. I think that was a missed opportunity. I feel like this movie should have been extended more in its timing to dive more into that detective side of it, because it seems like that's the route they were going, but maybe studio involvement, I don't know, shallow writing perhaps. There's a lot of things that seem shallow in this film. It's almost there, but not quite. And also, on that same note here, since I'm talking about that, when his partner dies, like when we find out that his partner's been skinned, or we think his partner's been skinned because they have the little tattoo with the Charlie in the box. The Charlie in the box. Like Rudolph. The only thing that's bothering me about that, and it really bugs me, is that just a little bit of forensic evidence would have proved that that wasn't his partner and taken this movie into a whole different direction. It's another quick plot point. Don't think too much about it. We need to get this movie going. And it became painfully obvious when that awesome twist ending, when the partner came back. I got it. It was cool. But like, learning that he's dead was not earned. He was just dead, and we're going to take your word for it. That's the partner. No need to investigate any further. Don't take any DNA samples. Don't check his dental records. Obviously, the tattoo is in the box. That's him. We know it's him. All right, sure, okay. And then the Saw voice, the new haunting Saw voice that's on the player. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. It seems pale, emotionless, and it sounds like a computer, which is probably what they were going for. I can see where that could sound creepy.
Hello, Detective Banks. Do you know where your officers are?
But again, comparing it to the original Jigsaw, he sounded menacing. You could tell, like, this guy wasn't fucking around. This one just sounds like a millennial messing with, apps on his phone and came up with this really dull voice. Okay, well, that's what I'm going to use. This really dull voice. It doesn't hit home for me. Every time the voice came on screen, I was just like, ugh, I just don't like it. So, yeah, not a big fan of that. But the last thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to what I don't like about this movie is the lack of character depth. No character has really any good depth. I mean, the only depth we get, besides Chris Rock's character, because that was the most detailed character we got the most development out of him, and they did a great job telling his story, but Chris Rock was kind of wonky with his acting, so that kind of took me out of that. But the most depth we got with anybody else was when the killer was explaining his plan at the end and why he was doing what he was doing. Okay, now we know why this happened, now we know why this happened, and it adds to those people's stories. But it just, again, it all seems very shallow, and that sucks. This movie could have been great, but they went a more shallow route, and I'm not sure why. Overall, I found this movie to be very entertaining. I enjoyed the aesthetic of it, I enjoyed the pacing of the film, and I want to see more of this world. I want to see what Chris Rock's character is going to do next. That left me curious, and that's good. That's what a good Saw movie should do. But the fact that we got almost no depth in this movie with any character or much of the story, and then the character that we do have the most depth on, it kind of fell short with the acting. So for all these reasons, I'm giving this movie a C+.
Oh, it was great!
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good,
It
though.
could have been a lot better.
There you go. There's my review. Now, should you go to the movies and see it? Yeah, if you want to go to the fucking movie theater, then go see it. That's fine. I kind of wish I would have stayed at home and been able to watch it here streaming for a couple different reasons. Number one, I haven't been to the theaters in over a year. To give you a little perspective, the last movie I saw in theaters was a doubleheader. I saw Sonic the Hedgehog and Birds of Prey. That was the last time I was in the theater. So my first visit back to a theater was not pleasant. I was sitting next to a rowdy crew that wouldn't shut the fuck up. God damn. Why can't people just stop talking during a movie? It's a fucking movie. Anyway, I'll save that for another video. I'm curious, what did you guys think about this movie? Did you like Chris Rock's acting? Do you agree with me that it's kind of wonky in and out and kind of kept you from getting absorbed into the story itself? Or do you think this whole movie was a shit show and you just want the regular Jigsaw back, or just reboot the whole thing? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, be sure to check out some more of my videos and live watch parties. And as always, stay trigger happy, my friends. Peace.
He could be anywhere. He could be anyone. We're gonna tear this city apart.